cares, and so does the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith. Hi, I'm Anne DeSantis, Executive Director. In 2015, the Mercedarian Friars came together because they wanted to start a foundation to help families in crisis. And that's exactly what we've been doing over these years. Whether it be something to do with divorce, separation, trauma, job loss, loss of a loved one, or other adversities, we've helped so many families get through those tough times through the spiritual works of mercy. We'd love to hear from you. Please do get in touch with us for our services. They are prayer, priestly consultation, podcasts and videos, and programs and events. We look forward to hearing from you. Just go to nonotus.org and get in touch with me. I look forward to hearing from you. God bless.
Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry present Journeys in Faith. Now, here's Anne DeSantis.
Good evening. Welcome to Journeys in Faith here on Fiat Ministry Network. My name is Anne DeSantis. It's great to be here. I have another wonderful guests, two guests actually, a husband and wife on this show. I have Deacon Anthony Cioe and his wife, Philomena. Thank you so much for joining me on Journeys in Faith.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, thank you. And also, you know, they're no stranger to me because they're friends. And also, Deacon Anthony was a guest on my previous program called The Positive Side, which is an online TV show that ran from 2018 until 2020. And now this is my new show. Actually, it's not so new anymore. This show has been around since the pandemic, believe it or not. I can't even believe it. We're going into year 3 with Journeys in Faith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I do remember well when we met. And you have been such a great supporter of our ministry as well. So I do feel like we're here speaking with a friend today. So thank you.
Oh, thank you both. And we're going to talk a lot about something. I'm going to mention it at the beginning of the program, but toward the end, we'll really open that up and talk about it more, is the Man Up South Jersey event. And every year it happens sometime in the fall. And so please keep watching because you're going to learn about that because Deacon Anthony and Phil are very heavily involved in the planning. And my husband and I, of course, I'm with the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith, and we have the exhibitor table there. So it's really an honor, and my husband loves to attend as well. And so, yes. Now, I thought what we could do is read your bio because sometimes I just talk about the bio, but I think there's so much there for our audience. So I'm going to read the bio for everyone. Is that Deacon Anthony and Philomena Cioe were born, raised, and met and fell in love in South Philadelphia over 45 years ago. Both grew up in blue-collar working-class families where their Catholic faith and family values helped shape their outlook on love, marriage, and life. A former corporate leader in publicly and privately held companies, Anthony is now a Catholic permanent deacon serving in the Diocese of Camden and is currently assigned to St. Peter's and Paul Parish in Turnersville, New Jersey. He is the executive director of the Man Up South Jersey Ministry, and his radio segment, Senior Spirituality, can be heard on domestic church media. Working hand in hand in ministry, Deacon Anthony and Phil currently focus their talents on helping lead others to experience the joy that comes from a Christ-centered life. They've been married for 43 years. They live in Blackwood, New Jersey, a Philadelphia suburb. They are the proud parents of 2 adult children, Jennifer and Anthony Jr., and we can't forget grandson Eric.
Absolutely.
Yes. Now we're also social media friends, so I'm lucky because I get to see all the pictures of the family, and I feel like I already know them. So I want to make a shout out and say hi to everybody.
Yeah, you will know that Eric dominates the social media. Our grandson
That's right.
dominates the social media. It's all about him.
Yes, it is all about
Our
him.
our children, my daughter especially, will say, "Dad, when we were small, I don't remember you being so easy about things, right, hon?
No,
You know,
absolutely,
I
yes.
I remember you being a little more strict." And I say, "It's a different story." Okay, it's our grandson. He could do anything.
He's the star, right?
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely,
yes.
absolutely true.
It's beautiful. Let's start out, if I could, and I think what we'll do in terms of the show is kind of I'll direct questions to each one of you because it's hard sometimes when there's two people together. Both
Yes.
we all have that tendency to talk together, right? So why don't we just start out? We'll start out with Phil,
Oh, wow.
and yes, and your faith journey and being married for so many years, and just if you would just share with us, what do you love the most about your Catholic faith? I mean, I know obviously it's such an important part of who you are and how you celebrate it together in marriage.
Well, I just want to start out by saying I grew up in a house where my two parents, my dad, not so much, but my mom was in church every Sunday. And I always make jokes about it. She'd start at the back of the church and say hello to everybody up the aisle. And then she'd go light her candles. And I used to watch her because I would go to mass with her. So I have to attribute my faith is from my mom, because she just was the type of person that she was very close to the Blessed Mother, and and everything centered around God. She had problems physically, medically, and it was always that she just turned to the Blessed Mother for help. And and I feel as though my faith has come from watching her. And then over the years, I kind of like drifted away, the teenage years sort of thing. And then I thought, it's probably time to go back to mass again, and I really wasn't too involved back then. And it wasn't until I guess when I met Anthony that I started to really feel like I really wanted to get involved. So, I became a Eucharistic minister because of my brother and sister-in-law who have passed away over the years. They were, and I just looked at them and saw how happy it made them. So I, went and I became a Eucharistic minister, and, I used to visit some people in their homes and things like that. And it just gave me such joy to be with them. And, they would thank me, and I'd say to them, no, I have to thank you, because the joy that I felt just sitting there with people was just something I can't even explain, and then Anne and I, of course, met, and he was kind of like not iffy about being in church all the time. He's told this story several times. So, then he started seeing me going. And so we would go, he'd come over, and every Sunday morning we'd go to mass together. And that's how I guess that all started, and then, so I guess my faith journey, started a long, long time ago from when I was a child. I made all my sacraments in Catholic Church, and just watching my parents and my grandmother, especially. I mean, my grandmother was just like awesome, when it came to that. And everybody, my aunts, in the family, and it was just so many people around me that I just, in my mind, I said, this is really good. I got to keep up with this, and I do, I just, I have my own way about doing things. I'm not as out there as, Anthony is, or maybe a lot of other people, but I have my own way of, expressing my faith, and someone once told me a very long time ago when Aunt was before formation, it was one of the deacons that we had to meet with. And he said, you are a very spiritual person. And I looked at him and I thought, for real? Is he kidding or what? But I guess over the years, I have learned that I do feel that I am spiritual in my own way,
Oh, that's such a beautiful faith journey. And listening to it, I mean, all of those images of your mom and your grandmother and your relatives, and how you have this faith, as you said, it might be more of a quieter faith, but it's a profound faith. And I think that that's what I really like about what you just shared. And knowing the two of you, and how you two are such a perfect match together. And we're going to talk about that too. And the way that you celebrate is contagious to others. And so I just want to thank you for sharing. It's really an honor for me to be able to interview you, especially now that we've known each other for a while. And you know, it's always a nice thing when you get to interview people that you already know and really like. So that's,
Thank you. I feel comfortable talking around you because Aunt will tell you I am not a sharing kind of a girl.
That's true.
And that's very true.
well, it's beautiful that you decided to share with us on this show. And I'm sure that what you just said and what you are feeling right now is something that is being felt by other people as they're watching it too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Going on to you, Deacon Anthony, and I'll just ask you that same question. I mean, how did your faith develop when you were younger and to a point of even wanting to become a permanent deacon? I mean, that's a pretty big calling. It is a big calling. So
And it's
please
and
share.
thank you. And it's one that I've never really thought the direction I would go in. My faith journey is very similar to Phil's. It just comes from a very, very strong faith within the family. My mom was just amazing. Just like Phil, my dad, not so much, but my mom was an amazingly spiritual person. She went to mass daily, for the most part, daily. She's a daily communicant. So I saw her faith. Went to Catholic school, just like Phil did, even though we're two different parts of Philadelphia. Okay, we both went to Catholic school. We received our faith formation there, but the reality is the faith formation was in the house. It was supported by watching and learning from my mom, and then again my family and my relatives, how strong the faith is. And I'll share with you something. It's really an interesting little story because I believe that there are no coincidences in life. I believe that God puts everybody in our path for a reason. It's almost like, to me, like a connect the dots kind of a thing. When we're able to look back, we look at connect the dots and we're able to see a picture emerge. The picture that emerges is I could really get a chance to see today some of the life lessons that I learned from my mom. I mean, for example, I was an altar server, so I guess it might have been 7 or 8 years old. Would that be the time, Phil? I guess about 8 years old. So I just become an altar server, and at those days, they had the altar servers at morning mass. It was probably a 6 a.m. mass or 5:30 mass that my mother went to. It was my first day on the altar, and I made a mistake. I rang the bells at the wrong time, and the priest stopped in the middle of the mass. Okay. And looked at me and said loudly, "What are you, stupid or something?"
Oh no.
Now, I tell this story because when I tell that story, most people will say, "That's it. I would have left. I would have never gone back to the church again." That's why people are, well, look, kind of thing. My mother, okay, God rest her soul, was a beautiful person. Afterwards, she said to me, "You know what? We'll be here long after him." Okay? People should never drive us from our faith. It didn't mean much to me. And I have to be honest, all priests I've ever met, they're just wonderful people. Okay. I believe this person was put in that situation to help teach me an early formation lesson. And the early formation lesson is nothing should stand in the way of our faith. Okay. Not even that. Not even someone who most people would say, "Oh, that was terrible." Yes, it wasn't nice, but it gave me some good formation, understanding the importance of faith in my life. So when I look back and I connect these dots, I just see so many things that happen during life. Phil mentioned it, but when I got out of college or went into college, I really didn't practice my faith. I was kind of like on my own thing. And it wasn't until I really met Phil and saw how strong her faith was that I said, well, hey, listen, I want her to like me, so I guess I better go to church, okay? And it became important. It became important, and it was the faith formation that developed at that time in my life, where there's too long for here, but there were other dots that connected me to wanting to be able to serve the people of God, and that's when the pats on my back became ones that I actually started feeling, not just from people from the Holy Spirit saying, "You know what, you really need to serve others." And that's what a deacon is. We serve others. So there's a very, very long faith story in there. And when I speak at parishes, I tell the faith story. I talk about all these dots that connect. But suffice to say, it was my family, Phil, okay, and people within the church and circumstances that just led me to have the strong desire to serve others in any capacity that possibly could.
What a beautiful story of both of your faith journey. And it's interesting how both of you had mothers that were so devoted.
Yes.
And then, of course, you started noticing other people around you. I know that, Phil, you mentioned your grandmother and other people. And of course, then you, Deacon Anthony, when you met Phil, you said, oh, wow, I mean, she goes to church, I should too.
Right.
And I should care about my Catholic faith. So it's just how God, like you said, how he connected those dots and brought you to where you are now, which is down this beautiful path of serving and of family life and of loving your Catholic faith. And so it's just beautiful. Now, we do have to take a short break. So we're going to come right back here in just a few minutes here on Journeys in Faith. Welcome back to Journeys in Faith on this Friday evening with Deacon Anthony Cioe and Philomena. It's great to have them here. And during the first half of the show, they both talked about their faith journeys. And, you know, that's why I think we call this show Journeys in Faith. We always have to discuss the importance of how we really developed our faith. I mean, many of us, maybe people who are watching, you who are watching, we were baptized or brought into the faith in some way, shape, or form. And the interesting thing is always how that develops and where that goes. And so I thought for this half of the show, we could talk about your ministry because not only, Deacon Anthony, are you a permanent deacon, but you are involved in the Man Up South Jersey event that happens every year, which, as I said at the beginning of the show, that my husband and I attend since I'm there with my exhibitor table for the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation. So let's start again. I know we should kind of take turns. Well, I start out with Phil because Phil, you're a person who is supporting your husband in this endeavor, and you've been doing it for a while. What is it like for you being involved? Because you're there every year, and I know that it is an undertaking, isn't it, every year?
It is, but I'll tell you, I enjoy it so much. I get to meet the speakers in person. And it's kind of nice when Anne's telling everybody, when the speaker gets here, make sure he sees Phil or she sees Phil kind of thing, you know. And I get to meet people and I get a chance to see you. Although this year I kind of like just waved past you because it was so busy, which was awesome to see. It was just great to see so many men attending the conference. It was just an awesome thing. And as I said, Anne does, of course, the really heavy duty stuff, you know. I just kind of sit back and, you know, follow my directions and my rules and know where I'm supposed to be and that kind of thing. But it's still a lot of fun. I do enjoy doing it with them. And, you know, and I get to see a lot of people, a lot of friends come to the conference, you know, and just hear comments of people about how well he's doing and how much they enjoy being there and things like that. But yeah, it's the deacon's wife does take on a lot of responsibilities.
Talk about that. Yes,
you know,
please.
Which I, you know, it's actually 2010. So it's 12 years. It was 12 years in September. He was ordained. And, you know, at the beginning, all through formation, I used to attend classes from time to time. You know, I had certain deacons or priests who would speak at the classes and he'd come home and tell me, and I said, I think I'll come and listen to them, you know. So I would go from time to time and enjoy being at the class. But what Aunt and I started to do in order for us to continue our own personal life, you know, and not, you know, always be involved with the deacon life, we decided that we would plan a date night. So when he would be sitting in class on a Saturday and I would be home doing some chores or just, you know, doing stuff for the week, we would plan a dinner. So each week it was his week was one week, and then I would pick another week of a restaurant we were going to go to when he got home. And every Saturday, all through formation, which was 6 years, that we went out to dinner and we did not talk about class. We didn't turn the phone on. We just talked about us, the kids, ourselves and things like that. And that's how we pretty much got through, I think, the 6 years, because, there was a lot to go, the classes and every time there was any kind of an event, some other class going through their candidacy or something, we would go. I would never not go unless for some reason I was sick, but I would never not go. And in fact, during that time, he had to go through the diocese to become a lector, which he already was a lector. And so was I at this point. I was a lector in addition to being an EM. And I said, you know what? I said, I think I'm going to do that too. It's only a matter of time, because they're going to say, I think you need to go through the diocese also. So him and I did lector school together. Also, But you know what? It's an awesome feeling. It really is. I tell him all the time, I just wish my mother-in-law was here and my mother to see him, because they would be so proud of him for what he's doing and the work he does. And just, people just really, really, they want to see him. They want him to baptize their babies. They want him to marry them. And it's just an awesome thing to see. And it makes me feel very, very proud. It really does. And, and the kids love it. I mean, the kids will call him with questions, or they'll say, Dad, I have a friend, can you help her, kind of help him? And, it's a good thing. It is. But it's a lot of work.
So well said. Well, first, thank you for sharing about the conference, the Man Up Conference. And then, of course, the bigger picture of it is being, for your primary vocation, obviously, is your marriage, but being that deacon's wife, that's a real ministry for both of you. I mean, really, because it encompasses both of you together as a family unit, doesn't it? I mean, going to Mass together, and like you said, you're both lectors, you're both very involved. So that's just a wonderful thing. We'll go over to you, Deacon Anthony. So tell us about your journey, not only with being a permanent deacon, but of whatever you would also want to share about the conference too.
Absolutely. One of the things that Phil touched on, I just think is important. It was important to us in our marriage, important to us in the diaconate. We have tried throughout our marriage to make sure that we are the center of whatever is happening. Okay, I mean, God is the center. I don't mean to imply not, but in the center in terms of our life here. When I was working, there were opportunities in the companies that I was working for us to have to move in order for me to be able to receive the promotion and move up the ladder. We chose very early on that our family was important to us, and we wanted to stay close. So from a work standpoint, my decisions were always, how do we keep us local in whatever I chose? The same thing happens within the ministry. How do I make sure that I can invite Phil into what I'm doing? If she doesn't want to do it, that's okay. She can say no. But the importance of inviting her into my ministry in ways that she can and that she feels comfortable with. So that's become very, very important to us to share. When Phil said about her being involved in the Man Up ministry, I tell people that she is my production manager, because the way that I've been able to incorporate Phil into it exactly is she takes an important role. It's not easy, you're coming into, there are 500-600 men there, okay, and there's Phil, all right,
and me maybe, but I guess
thank goodness you're there.
Thank you for that.
Right, and maybe a few other women, but right.
But her ability to be part of some ministries with me, as a deacon, my role is to be in service to the people. And if there are any ways that I'm able to include Phil in that, because it allows us to spend time together, that's what's important. That's what keeps our marriage strong. So we always look for that. There's times that it's not possible, but wherever we can, we do that. The Man Up South Jersey ministry is a great one, because what it is it's a men's conference and allows us to bring men together to be able to strengthen their faith. A few years ago, Pope Francis wrote The Joy of the Gospel, Evangelii Gaudium, where he really spoke about, how do we bring our faith to others? How do we bring this joy of the gospel to others? And to do that, we speak about 4 different ways. We bring people to an encounter with Christ. We accompany them on this journey. Okay, we bring them into the community because that's where we can strengthen their lives and their faith, and then we send them out so that they can do the same to others. It's the counselor, accompany, community, and send. It's an important part of building missionary disciples. So my work in the diaconate, my work as a person is how do I evangelize to others? How do I help create other evangelists? How do we bring people to an encounter with Christ that they can experience the love of God in their lives and bring that out to others? The Man Up Conference is a way for us to do that. We bring men together, okay, in an environment where we can help them through speakers, through prayer, through music, through exhibitors, through confession, through camaraderie, feeding them. We bring them together so that we can bring them to an encounter with Christ. And through that encounter, they can become better husbands, better fathers, better sons, better employees. They become better men. And we send them out from this conference, hopefully better equipped to be the person that God created them to be. That's the whole purpose of the conference. Our next one comes up on November the 11th of 2023. It's always the second Saturday in November. We always have great speakers. We have 2 signed already that I'm really excited about. I just can't announce them yet, but we have 2 great speakers signed already. It's going to be on Veterans Day in 2023, so we're going to make sure that we have a component within there where we honor veterans. Okay, we honor those who have served our country. To me, this is an event of evangelization. It's an event that we can bring out to others. And what we are trying to do now is to make sure that it's not just a one and done. It's not just a day and you go on. We have gospel reflection groups via Zoom that we've started. There are holy hours we're planning. We're helping provide resources to men throughout the year to help strengthen their prayer life. So it's more than just a one-day event. It's our ability to reach out to them all year long. We touch them every week with an email. And in that email, we'll talk about things that are important, that we believe are important to them. So it's a beautiful ministry. The fact that I'm able to have Phil by my side in it. And by the way, we have a wonderful committee. I have to tell you, I've been blessed with just pulling together a great group of people, a great committee who really do a lot of the work. Okay, this is not Phil and I. This is a committee that does a heck of a lot of work. We just have the ability to be part of that. So it's a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's good to know that date too, for the people that are watching, whether they're people in our audience or even maybe in your audience and that are watching this, is mark those calendars for the guys out there in South Jersey, November 11th.
Yes.
And it's at Paul VI High School, correct?
Yes. We call it Paul VI Conference Center because they have it, and that's at Haddonfield.
Conference Center, yeah.
They have a beautiful, beautiful facility there.
Oh, it really is. It's so well run. It is. And we've been there every year for the last, 3 years or more. And just the accommodations, the food, the way everything is done is just really perfect.
Well, thank you. Again, we
so organized.
That's a lot of people who are helping organize. The day of event, we have at least 35 volunteers, adult men volunteers who are there, and that's part of how they're developing their faith as well. Just being part of making sure that things are running smooth. I'm blessed to be able to do that. I'm blessed to be a deacon, to be in service to others. Again, it's this ministry of service. I look at my role as being there to help those in need. When I was in formation, our formation director, he says he never said this, by the way. I asked Paul, he says, I never said it, but he did, because it's a great quote. He said to us, he said, your role, gentlemen, is to find the need and then fill it. So if he didn't say it, it was the Holy Spirit who said it. But I see that as the role that I have. My role is to find the need in the community. What do the people need? How do I then fill it? Not necessarily just by myself. How do I draw the resources together to direct those resources to help those people that are in need, whatever that need might be? And I'm blessed to be able to do it.
Well, so well said again. And I love the word resources because that's what you're doing. It's not just kind of a once and done. As you said, there's
Right.
the emails that go out,
Mhm.
those faith formation opportunities. And may I say that even the day of, there's confessions, which is so great that for the men that would like to get to confession, even if it's just, they haven't been there in a while and here it is, it's offered with so many priests there. So
If I could
great
just
job.
interject, one of the most wonderful parts of the day is when we see the line of men going to confession.
Mhm.
And there are men, and I would say if we have 500 men, a third of the men go to confession that day, which is an amazing number. It's an absolutely amazing number. And many of them have not been there for years. And we look and we say, okay, good. Holy Spirit's working here. Holy Spirit's working.
So important, such great work.
Mhm.
And I'll look forward to attending again through the foundation I represent. As course, as Phil said, it's all these men and then a few women sprinkled here and there in ministry, the ones that are at the exhibitor tables, and then
Yes.
Phil and
Mhm.
maybe other organizers. But I want to just thank you both for taking the time to be on this program. I would love to have you back again for maybe a part 2 at some point. You got to stay in touch.
Yes.
It's just great. And of course, as Phil said, this year we didn't get a chance to talk quite as much at the conference. So just great that we're able to do this today and not only speak to each other, but spread this ministry and also the beautiful work that the two of you do together. And, you're evangelizing just through your lives. And so that's always the most important thing. I think, Deacon Anthony, you said when I interviewed you before that your primary vocation is your marriage. And you certainly do. The two of you live that out so well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we would love to be back again. Wouldn't we,
Absolutely.
hon?
Absolutely. In fact, the first time you interviewed Ann, I'll never forget. I was sitting in the studio. We were in Cherry Hill, I think, and I was sitting in the
Yes.
studio and you said, Phil, you sure you don't want to do this? I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
God had a plan though for this.
And Ann said to me, when you first asked him, he said, do you want to do it? I said, yeah. I said, Ann's nice. I like her. I said, I want to do it. I said,
And I like you both too. So it's easy, right? It's just like
it was.
friends that are talking and
Absolutely.
we have an audience here too. So
Thank you. Again, thank you very much.
thank you. And God bless all of you here that are watching. So keep an eye out for the Man Up South Jersey Conference and connect with Deacon Anthony Cioe and Phil. God bless all of you. We'll see you here next week on Journeys in Faith with Anne DeSantis on Fiat Ministry Network.
Journeys of Faith is a production of Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry. For more information about Journeys of Faith, email info@fiatministrynetwork.tv. And be sure to friend, follow, and like us on social media. Just search Journeys in Faith with Anne DeSantis.